Pooh, Ling Han instantly sprayed a mouthful of wine. This woman's daring was so outrageous it was hard to bear. Only a pervert like Gu Fenghua could possibly match her. Hearing Yin Hong speak so brazenly, Zhu Xuan couldn't hide her curiosity. She picked up that tiny strip of meat from the table, lifted the white gauze a little, revealing lips so exquisitely red they seemed carved by heaven, and opened her mouth slowly. Her pearly white teeth looked like flawless sculptures, so beautiful it stole one's breath. She placed the meat into her mouth and let the white gauze fall again, chewing unhurriedly. In an instant, regret welled up ceaselessly in one's heart, wishing to see that glimpse again. She did not act as exaggerated as Yin Hong, yet the shock in her gaze shone with an uncommon brilliance. Such a delicacy was a once-in-a-lifetime encounter, stirring an urge to take another bite no matter the cost. But Zhu Xuan was Zhu Xuan after all. She quickly suppressed the impulse and returned to her composed self. Compared to savoring, she still carried a solemn responsibility. Sister Zhu, you should just marry young Master Ling. Yin Hong couldn't help teasing. Look, young Master Ling is only 17, and he's already a low-level Earth-grade alchemist. At this rate, he'll be a heaven-grade alchemist around 30, and you can just look for him to refine the pill. Besides, if you follow him, there'll be such delicious food to eat, your whole life will be worth it. She giggled mischievously, cast a flattering look at Ling Han, and said, Young Master Ling, look, I even found you a wife, so why don't you give me some more of that dried meat? Those words instantly provoked two people, Zhu Xuan and Hu Niu. Zhu Xuan was not so much. She was an adult and had self-control, but her gaze still cooled slightly. Hu Niu had a fiery temper. She immediately sprang out of Ling Han's embrace, and Shu, her tiny figure, flashed and appeared before Yin Hong, waving her claws toward Yin Hong's chest. Hiss! The two girls were completely shocked. Hu Niu was actually an elite? She was unbelievably strange. Even Ling Han, who possessed a shred of heaven-tier divine consciousness, could no longer see through her at all, let alone the two girls. A spiritual ocean-tier expert suddenly struck, and Yin Hong was utterly unguarded. Chila, the clothes over her chest were instantly torn open. Yet in the very next moment, a white light flickered and formed a screen of radiance, blocking Hu Niu's little hands. Niu, stop! Ling Han hurriedly shouted. Hu Niu then flipped and landed back in Ling Han's embrace. Still in a foul mood, she scowled at Yin Hong. The white light on Yin Hong's chest dispersed, and because her clothes were torn, her snow-white skin could be seen indistinctly. However, what was surprising was the vein-like lines on her skin, just like a tattoo. Formation marks! Ling Han had heaven-tier experience. His eyes immediately lit up as he focused on them. Formations had already waned and nearly been lost in his previous lifetime. He had only encountered them when visiting historic sites. Ling Han only knew how to solve them, and the only formation he could set was a warning formation. However, in ancient times, formations stood shoulder to shoulder with martial arts and alchemy. Once formation masters made a move, they could trap tens and hundreds of martial artists of the same tier. The might within was absolutely real. He was deeply interested in formations, but he had poured all his effort into alchemy and had no time to delve into them. Additionally, there were no formation masters for him to seek guidance from, and no formation scrolls had survived from ancient times. So how could he learn? He truly never expected that he would actually encounter a formation master. As expected of the flourishing of a prosperous martial arts age, not only were there freaks like Rong Huan Xuan, Yan Tianzhao, Ma Duobao, and Hu Niu, but even formation masters that had long vanished had reappeared. Your eyes are glued to me. Why don't I just take off my clothes and let you look until you're satisfied? Yin Hong said through clenched teeth. Though her smile was faint, she emitted a dangerous aura. Ling Han did not withdraw his gaze. He had no interest whatsoever in Yin Hong's body. He was only staring at the formations on her skin. He had seen quite a few formations in his previous life, but formations carved upon the body. This was the first time. Formations? They're certainly a pretty good thing, Ling Han said. If you don't mind, take off your clothes and let me study it carefully. Get lost! Yin Hong hurriedly covered her chest and ran into the building to change into new clothes. Zhu Xuan looked at Hu Niu in utter astonishment. She couldn't see through Hunyu and had thought Hunyu did not cultivate at all. She never expected her judgment to be so wrong. Hunyu not only had awakened a spirit base, she was even a spiritual ocean tier cultivator. A 5 to 6-year-old at the spiritual ocean tier. What did that mean? In comparison, her own cultivation was not worth mentioning. The gap was simply too large. In the martial arts world, all those below the flower blossom tier were nobodies, mortals. However, it could be said that the preceding 5 tiers were relatively easy to attain, and no matter how young a spiritual pedestal tier warrior was, it wouldn't be strange. However, a 5 to 6-year-old at the spiritual ocean tier? How could she not be shocked? Hunyu's senses were terrifyingly sharp. She immediately noticed Jushuan-Er's gaze, then made a face at her, displaying intense enmity. Ling Han laughed and said, "Lady Zhu, what do you need crimson red chilling ice grass for?" Jushuan-Er was momentarily startled and said, "So you were there that day." She paused briefly, then continued, "I need it to refine a heaven-grade medicinal pill, and crimson red chilling ice grass is one of the supplemental ingredients." Crimson red chilling ice grass could only be used as a supplemental ingredient? Well, that was a heaven-grade medicinal pill. Ling Han found it strange and said, "I heard your teacher has been possessed by the devil, but I think a medium level, or at most high level earth-grade medicinal pill can handle it. There's no need for heaven-grade." If someone else said such words, Jushuan-Er would definitely ignore them. However, Ling Han was a low-level earth-grade alchemist. In terms of actual status, he was far above her. Even the sect master of Winter Moon Sect would show respect upon seeing Ling Han. She said, "My teacher received a Dao injury, and it can't be cured without a heaven-grade medicinal pill." Ling Han found it even stranger and said, "Your master is at most a spiritual infant tier cultivator. How could he possibly receive a Dao injury?" Dao injury, also known as injury of the Great Dao, was a backlash injury received when fathoming the power of heaven and earth. Only shattering void tier warriors had the right to fathom heaven and earth, so naturally only they could suffer Dao injuries. Other than that, shattering void tier martial artists could invoke the power of heaven and earth. Those struck by it would also suffer a Dao injury. The problem was, if a shattering void tier warrior attacked, could someone with the strength of spiritual infant tier only suffer an injury? More likely, they would have died several hundred times over. Jushuan-Er shook her head and did not answer. Obviously, this matter involved a secret. They merely had an intimate talk as acquaintances, so how could she reveal the bottom of it so easily? Ling Han didn't ask further, but clearly, he and Jushuan-Er would be competing for that crimson red chilling ice grass. "Sorry, but I also need the crimson red chilling ice grass," he said. Jushuan-Er immediately revealed fierce enmity. This was the life-saving medicine for her teacher. Besides, the reason she accepted to fight on Yinhong's behalf was because Yinhong had promised to help her find the other main ingredients and go to the middle state to request a heaven-grade alchemist to refine the pill. Hunyu's face, too, turned fierce and savage. Jushuan-Er had actually dared to aim killing intent at Ling Han, and the little girl instantly slipped into a battle stance, her tiny body tensed like a drawn bow, already ready to pounce and strike. Ling Han placed a hand on Hunyu's shoulder, pressing her down so she wouldn't act rashly, and said, "Let me guess. There are 4 kinds of heaven-grade medicinal pills that can heal Dao injuries, but only the Hidden Tiger Heavenly Luck Pill requires crimson red chilling ice grass." Jushuan-Er's pupils immediately tightened. Ling Han had guessed correctly, and she truly was gathering ingredients precisely to refine the Hidden Tiger Heavenly Luck Pill. Ling Han nodded, confirming his thoughts from her reaction, and continued, "The Hidden Tiger Heavenly Luck Pill's main ingredients are 9 Dao Sound Heaven Fruit, 4 Elephant Heaven Wolf Grass, and Extreme Dark Dragon Emperor Fruit. The main ingredients cannot be replaced, but the supplemental ingredients can." "You're saying all this just to make me not compete with you for the crimson red chilling ice grass." Jushuan-Er immediately saw through Ling Han's intentions. Ling Han laughed and said, "That's right. I'm not afraid of you, but seeing that we'll be fighting side by side in the future, I'm giving you advice and a notice. You won't be able to get it. However, you don't have to worry even if you don't get crimson red chilling ice grass, since the supplemental medicines can be exchanged. Master Ling, even if the crimson red chilling ice grass can be exchanged, just how many 7-tier spirit grasses are there in the world? Jushan countered with a question. This crimson red chilling ice grass, I'm determined to have it. Ling Han shrugged his shoulders and said, then it'll be a match of our abilities. However, when I snatch it, don't snivel. Jushuan instantly wanted to roll her eyes. She wasn't a child and wouldn't snivel. She was a bit irritated inside. This was the first time she had met someone who did not care for her charm, making it somewhat hard for her to adapt. The second, of course, was Hu Niu, whose face was full of enmity, as if she would fight with her over Ling Han. Pa! Pa! Even if Ling Han was a heaven-grade alchemist, she would at most ask him to refine pills. As for liking him, impossible. The man she would like should be a martial arts genius, not a blockhead who only knew how to refine pills. Yo, seems you guys were having a great talk. Did I come back at the wrong time? Yin Hong walked over, her plump buttocks swaying. Paired with her naturally slender and supple waist, once she started walking, she became exceedingly seductive, and it couldn't be concealed at all. Ling Han laughed loudly and said, Not at all. Lady Yin, do you have any secret scrolls on formations that you can lend me for reference? Yin Hong rolled her eyes at Ling Han immediately and said, What do you think secret scrolls on formations are? You think I would let you use it for reference just because you said so? I can exchange using arts and techniques of a similar level, Ling Han said with justification. He didn't need to spend his thoughts on alchemy in this lifetime, and already had experience in martial arts, simply treading over it again, so he had large amounts of time left over. Using it to learn formations was just right. He had seen the power of Yin Hong's formations, which could even block Hu Niu's attack. This was quite out of the ordinary, which made him deeply interested. Besides, he would definitely enter all sorts of historic sites in the future, and if he was highly accomplished in formations, it would be extremely helpful. Moreover, the treasure troves and medicinal gardens of every sect were protected by formations, blood-sucking origin. Gold could open the locks, but couldn't deal with formations. Yin Hong laughed mischievously and said, All right, if you can bring high-level arts or techniques, then I'll exchange with you. Sure. Ling Han had no intention of staying any longer and immediately said goodbye. He returned to pick some arts and skills to exchange for a few formations to study. It gave him something to do before he ventured into the Dark Demon Forest. He left with Hu Niu, and the courtyard was suddenly left with Jushuan and Yin Hong. This guy is truly a weirdo. Ignoring my charm isn't a big deal, but even ignoring you? Could he be a eunuch? Yin Hong said, baffled. Jushuan instantly flushed red across her whole face and said, Sister Hong, you're shooting your mouth off again. So the two girls already knew each other. That wasn't strange. Jushuan sought the materials to refine the Hidden Tiger Heavenly Luck pill, and the fastest way was through the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Thus, Jushuan and Yin Hong knowing each other was naturally very normal. However, you can really consider it. This guy truly has the possibility of becoming a heaven-grade alchemist before 30 years old. That would be equivalent to a mighty shattering void-tier warrior, and with his help, finding those main ingredients would be much easier. Otherwise, a 9th-tier spirit grass, a spiritual pedestal tier cultivator like you can't possibly obtain it. Yin Hong said again. Jushuan sighed. The supplemental medicines were not a problem, but the 3 main medicines would truly drive her to death. And what did she have? Unmatched looks. Would she have to exchange for them with her body? After Ling Han returned to the inn, he immediately entered the Black Tower, searching through his mind for suitable arts and techniques. Inside the Black Tower, he was almost omnipotent. Cough, reviving the dead, was obviously undoable. Hundreds of charcoal pens flew about on their own, and sheets of silk paper floated in midair. With a G, several rows of characters appeared on the silk papers. With only one night's effort, Ling Han had already written 100 volumes of arts and techniques. Should be enough. He smiled faintly and left the tower, heading to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion again. Young Master Ling, you've returned so quickly? Is it because you still want to see Sister Zhu? Unfortunately, she left early in the morning and headed to the Dark Demon Forest, Yin Hong said with a smile. Ling Han also smiled and said, I came here just to see Lady Yin. What's to see about me? I'm not even 1/100th the beauty of Sister Zhu. I have some arts and techniques. Have a look and see how many formations it can exchange for. Ling Han tossed out the 10 volumes of arts and techniques. Yin Hong no longer joked. She picked up one art, swept her gaze across it, and instantly revealed a shocked expression. She said, Earth grade art. She continued to pick up the other books to read, and her charming face kept changing colors. These were not only Earth grade arts, but also ones of different elements, suited for people of all sorts of spirit bases, something extremely hard to come by. Young Master Ling is truly a person of extraordinary talent, she sighed in exclamation. Ling Han laughed and said, Some people asked me to refine pills but couldn't pay the price, so they could only use arts to make up the numbers. This was the truth, yet also something from his previous life. For example, he had demanded the 3 styles of Black Origin and War Elephant Fist from Sword Emperor and Na Lan too. Since young Master Ling is so straightforward, then it would be rude of me to keep hiding things. Yin Hong wiped the tabletop with her right hand, and instantly 3 ancient records appeared. These books were definitely not made of normal materials, as each one emitted an ancient presence. Ling Han picked them up to read. Written separately on the 3 books were Formation Basics Introduction 1, Formation Basics 2, and Formation Basics Introduction 3. He shook his head and said, Lady Yin, I've taken out 10 Earth grade arts, yet you give me 3 books on Formation Basics? Yin Hong giggled, tossed out another book, and said, I'll add this Small Heavenly Origin Snake Formation, but no more, or else I'd rather not exchange. That's more like it. Ling Han picked up the book, Small Heavenly Origin Spirit Snake Formation, and a smile appeared on his face.